Okay. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, in honor of the original unconditional moment that all conditional moments have arisen from and will return to, in the presence of the original being to this simulation and the system admin to this existential system. All right. So, hey everyone. An interesting geometry to an idea arose to me. And I'm going to get into it. So, first of all, there's two titles. If you look at the description of the video, that's what I wrote first. The mortal human that generated an immortal role. I have made an observation in regards to this. I'm one out of 8.1 billion human beings. I have a DNA nobody else has. I have an access to a perspective that is the reality the meaning to reality I consider behind my eyes. And so I find it very important to share. You know, they say see something, say something. I'm seeing the nature of reality and I want to say something about it. So that's what's happening here. You're listening to a member of the human species comment on what all of this is. And what is going on here. Why are we all existing out of nowhere to ourselves? So these are important questions. Sometimes, you know, to me, questions are as fascinating as entering new worlds. It's like they're giving the moment another way to happen. So, I wrote the mortal human that generated an immortal role, and then I, polished the sentence to the immortal role of mortal humans. The viewers might not understand this, or you might not know this, but I feel like in the same way a musician that knows an instrument it knows what the instrument should sound like. I feel that when it comes to the nature of language, there is a part of me that has an advanced knowing with it. Now, the explanation of that, I don't know how to say it. All I can say that when I sit down to give these talks, there's a familiar feeling, but it's also a very new feeling at the same time. Okay? The familiarity is like I know where it's going, but the novelty is like what is going where. So, whether you read the subtitle or the main title, it's about the concept of immortal roles. What does that mean? And what are mortal humans? And really, our lives are all about how we organize meaning to how we are experiencing existence, or how we are existing experientially. There are mysteries here. In no way ever be convinced that humanity has figured everything out to the degree that it knows exactly what to do. A person becomes liberated when they realize, yo, all these human beings here, it doesn't matter if they're young or old, they're experiencing their life anew. That means, I don't know, you could be Hindu, you could be, yeah, you could be polytheist, you could be monotheist. It doesn't matter to me. On some level, we all cannot ignore the fact that it is like a start. It appears as a blank slate, but really what happens is you log into your ego as if it was already formulated, right? So if you go back to your earliest memory and try to see when you were a conscious self, you will see you kind of already had the comfort with being an idea before you were really fully conscious of that idea. Okay? So in other words, there's layers to this. There is things that we move and things that we don't move, you know? That is really what life is, and they have disconnected us from the direct experience of it, which is very funny, right? That means back in the day, a person would, let's say, go in nature, get an axe, and cut a tree. Okay. Now, in some sense, we human beings don't cut like more people have watched videos of people cutting trees than they have cut trees in their life. Do you understand what I'm saying? It was as if the system, you're in a system right now. This system at some level required physical activity. But if you notice, it has become less and less. Do you understand? That means it's like when I was a kid, I would climb trees. But in some sense, even aside from them making it illegal to even climb trees, it's like out of safety, they're ruining the child's ruining the child's naturalness. So, now they download apps and climb trees on those things. That means we look at what has happened to reality. It was very objective oriented. We shifted it into subjects. Okay, then in some sense, it became very subjective oriented. This is kind of like where we are now, and now the subjective orientation is shifting. That means if a human being comes up to me and says, "Yo, Mr. Within, what do you think the next evolutionary leap is for an individual conscious organism?" I would say it's ultimate responsibility for context. Like right now, just look at yourself, whoever you are listening, or whoever you will be, listening in the future. Like what I'm trying to say, sometimes the satisfaction feels hollow. Like a person can live whatever life. Do you know what it is? It's like we're in a story that we're not writing. It's so much bigger than us. Secular believes it's the forces of nature writing it. It's the world writing itself, but religious people consider that no, it has a system admin. But either way, we find ourselves as a function of the realm. Like I have asked AI many times in different lectures, like, what do you think human beings are? Like, yo, AI, you have access to info, right? Like, tell me, what do you think is going on Earth? And you know what AI says? It gives an answer that is actually, it's good for secular audience, okay? But what it says is that we are the planet becoming conscious of itself. That means right now you have the responsibility level of an individual. Right now you're being a self. You're responsible for yourself. You're not responsible for the world. Think of it this way, you know, in no way, shape, or form I am limiting God to a human analogy. I am not limiting anything in the world to the humanized experience. Why? Because, to be human, it's like, yo, dude, let's count. Let's do a reality check. Let's give our species a reality check. Hey, human species, let's count what is not human. And that's the funny thing. We are choosing to be humans in a world that is not human. In other words, the idea is the deception, the idea is the strategy against you. Oh, my species, they have limited you. They have limited you to just your objects. It is the cruelty of the physicalists. They have limited you to subjects. It is the cruelty of the cultural engineers. You think you are you, but look at you. The only thing that is original to the human being is the sequencing. It's decisions. For 12,600 days, I've been on this planet. I am telling you guys, the only original thing is, in some sense, the decision to move. Everything else, it comes from somewhere else. The world you did not create, your body you did not create, the words you use to give your life meaning you did not create. And they come in some sense, brainwash the masses. Yeah, all of you act normal and then think to yourselves you're unique. The same strategy is being implemented everywhere, whether it's on a national level or it's on an individual level. You know, it's not that different, folks. Let me tell you what it's like. Right now on planet Earth in 2026, I don't want to really get too much into geopolitics, but to kind of humanize it. And to say that in some sense, but nations are like, most nations. I'm not saying, I think pretty much all nations can be considered to be acknowledging this context. To them, to their own people, they come and say, to their own people, they act like angels. But to other peoples or other nations, they act like devils. And you know why? Because in some sense, all nations are like, yeah, guys, liberty, freedom, but only in our domain. You see, that's the thing. We have forgotten that the whole world institutionalized. Many people don't understand this, but Michel Foucault at least said something. So think of it this way. In the same way, a nation, we're looking at the behavior of a nation and we're looking at the behavior of an individual. We're comparing these two. The nation tells its own people they are free. Nations act democratic to their people, but then they act imperialist to other nations. And the reason is, in some sense, from one context there is trust, from another context there can't be trust on an individual level. Cultures are too different. Will nations fight to, in some sense, promote their own cultures all over the world, or is there something that all of us are missing? The nation, in some sense, again, looks at its own people, says you're free, acts democratic, looks at other nations, acts imperialist. Now, when you look at the human psychology, it also falls into this pattern. It's so weird. It's as if we trust what is in our domain. That means it's as if, like, you might think you're a really great person, you're a good person, you're a decent person, but that is only to yourself. That is inside, in accordance to your inner realms. But in the outer realms, you might not be a good person. And these things are important to acknowledge. I personally kind of like a prayer. I requested from God, before I destroy the world, destroy me. If in some sense something happens, that means a part of me is seeing something so much further than my own life, that I really don't know how to evaluate my life anymore. But the future that they have told us, it causes you anxiety, don't think about it, stay in the present like a dumbass, like excuse me. You don't understand the value of your dualism, and so you experience non-duality and you remain as space, not realizing why you were formed. The great paths are usually from the heart of the individual, okay? That means, have you heard the expression, a change of heart? That is the most important force, like revolutionary force on planet Earth. A person, if they define the future in accordance to their past, of course you suffer. Like, if I compare the past, if I compare myself, to who I was when I was younger, well, of course, I'm not that anymore. What I reminisce of in regards to who I used to be. All of you, you can think about the past. You can think about the past. You can reference yourself like to your past. You reference the present to the past. What can you do? You can't be the past. Only behind your eyes you can feel like it's there. I'm trying to say the same thing nations are doing, egos are doing, senses of self are doing. And at its core, if a person has a change of heart, that means they've accessed a new context to how the meaning of the moment can be given. Let me tell you what the human species is like. It's like a bunch of kids in a classroom. They just appeared in the classroom. Now, there is a teacher, okay, but they can't see this teacher, okay, and this teacher is culture. And this teacher comes and, in some sense, gives these kids different realities, not different realities. Like, imagine I tell you that, I'll give you an example. Imagine, so I'm a member of the human species. I'm sharing with you guys how deeply I see human nature. It's like, imagine I say that all flowers other than a white rose, or other than a red rose, all flowers other than the red rose are in some sense wrong, unnecessary, evil, and should be gotten rid of. Now imagine, like, okay, I'll make it hypothetical. Imagine this gardener becomes a dictator. Okay, this gardener that became a dictator. Now, this gardener, in some sense, imagine, says, yo, all the flowers that are in some sense, like, not red, not the color red, you must destroy. It's like they are our enemy. Now, here is where it gets crazy. When somebody comes and tells a group of people, you gotta do this or you'll be wrong, or this type of shape is more correct than other shapes, they are actually trying to destroy the meaning of everything else other than what they want you to do in your life. And when I say they, it is not people. I am telling you, it doesn't matter. Even if evil billionaires, let's say one day I'm giving a talk and an evil billionaire comes up and it's like, buddy, I'm an evil billionaire, man. We're controlling civilization. I'd be like, buddy, it is too big. Even if you try, all that you have done is in some sense the same influence that free will has during the lifetime of the individual. You have only set forth a conscious, like, how do I say it? It's like missiles. If I was to control culture, I would, in some say, it would be like missiles, right? You plan ahead. You're planning for the future. It's as if, like, okay, brainwash people, so when they get to this year, they will have these views. Okay, but I'm telling you, you cannot control a system that has so many unknown variables. That is the flaw. You have thought, if you are evil, you have tried to control. It's like, dude, the whole point of it is nobody can control a changing world, but they can come and, limit others so they feel more freer than them when everybody dies. You see, when everybody dies, there's an honor. There's an honor to life. And the honor of it is that it can be taken away. It can, and not taken away, I'm saying taken away by the system admin. Like, that's the best approach. For me, it is like, dude, how many places have I gone, done something, and come back home? And when I look at this life right now, every day I wake up, it feels like I'm in the office of creation again. It's like, what are you doing in creation's offices? I don't know. I don't know if you're working on a civilizational project. You know, it's like, dude, when does your work begin? From the moment I become conscious and I wonder what has not been seen yet. That's what fascinates me. A majority of you are not bored of your own past and you're not bored of the present. So you keep looping in that shit. Do you understand? You keep looping between past and present. You don't get it. You don't get it that you are, because you recognize the pattern before, you were familiar with it, you assign values of pleasantness, you are filtering every new moment. And to me, in some sense, I said that there was in the future there's like, like all civil war right now, all the battle of all nations. Okay, like when nations and war, these are all species civil war. Right now, it's civil war is happening for a species. Okay, but the greatest challenge and the enemy, that expression, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The enemy to all human beings, both good and evil, is the dehumanization. Evil dehumanizes quickly, good withstands the dehumanization. What is this life? It's pretty much like you have an option of personally moving the moment, or you watch the moment and personally move, and then later on you personalize. I was watching this video today, and it was clips of different famous people, and they were all saying the same thing. Not famous, but just different, like, people. Okay, and they were all saying, yo, man, time flies by. You suddenly wake up and you realize you're in a completely different, like, body. you know to me, the experience that human beings have on a daily basis, if reincarnation was true, it's like reincarnation training. It's in some sense the same thing, man. There's an inner, there's an outer. Okay, the inner reality doesn't know what the outer reality is like, and the inner reality, upon expansion, normalizes, like, becomes conscious of the outer reality. Like right now, most human beings are trained to treat themselves as a noun, and they think that the idea of them is their body. You right now think that the the just by storifying this, like by attaching, assigning characteristics and a settings, like a context to this story, we are right now like we are like a character right now behind our eyes that can change in ways that the laws of physics and the outer realms does not allow. I have visualized an apple in the air. Why doesn't it fall? Why doesn't gravity act upon it? In my imagination, I could see that apple floating in the air as long as I want. The laws of the nature of reality. So you see, it's not about whether existence is true or experience is true. They both have content. And it's like somebody coming up to you and be like, "Hey man, what have you been doing in your outer realms your whole life, and what have you been doing in your inner realms? Do you not care to figure out whose eyes your eyes are?" I need a 5 minute intermission, guys. I'll be back. All right, back to it. I am trying to suggest that a pattern that I see is that human beings keep emerging, but what is being immortalized is not the individual, it's the role. For example, there used to be no conscious archetypal assignment to reality. Do you understand? But then, in regards to how human beings made decisions, do you understand? They created roles. So there was the role of the mother, the role of the father, the role of the son, the role of archer, warrior. Do you understand? That means the archer goes and dies in the battlefield, but the role of an archer is immortalized as long as it's required, right? And to me, it's like these visible organisms, biological organisms, are generating, they are generating immortal roles, invisible roles that in some sense they're generating these invisible roles. Okay, so what does that mean? That means when I look at the contribution of my life, okay, I'm just looking at my life, I'm just looking at human beings, what are they doing, right? And they're like looping in past archetypes. Sorry guys, just a second, I'm getting a phone. Sorry about that. To continue, so where was I going? I was saying this, guys, look at what's happening, man. These biological organisms, they come and live their lives, they have a personal biological experience, but it is the potential of their potential energy, if activated, ends up being in some sense the information that they leave behind, the unique perception they saw that others did not have their DNA to see. Do you understand? And then at the end of this life, we're like, what remains? And to me, it's so funny because the roles remain. There are a certain set of roles that, as long as, like right now, as long as we're biological beings, there will be the role of a mother, a role of a father. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's to me, they're invisible roles that outlive the people who come and generate those roles. Okay, like imagine the first king. Okay, the first king generated the role of the king. After that, how many other kings were there, right? And they were all temporary, but the role was what was more immortal than them. Do you understand? It's as if when the king lost itself, like let's say the king, like, I don't know, felt insecure or something, but his role gave him strength. Do you understand? It's as if the king's like, I don't know what to do. And then, I don't know, like, a general or something says, Sir, do not forget who you are. You are the king of this kingdom. You understand? And then the king's like, oh, yeah, the role realigns. The role is there. Like we don't get it. It's not just you have an idea of yourself, there's an invisible model you're filling. Okay. And many human beings, they think they're alone, but let me tell you what it is. They are not assigned a role in the presence of others. Do you understand? It's not that like, most people think that they work for money. It is not that. If you're just working for money, then in some sense you're missing out on a higher resolution way of working. Okay, the work, at least, I don't know, the way when for me, anything that I've done, which in some sense, as a force, it has been because there has been something important, and I don't know how to explain it. It's just a part of me knew, okay, this is more important than my like what I want. It's so funny. When you're young, you're obsessed with yourself, and then you get conditioned by culture, like, oh my god, me who is in a being that's obsessed with itself, like, now I gotta make this self accepted by others. I gotta go and become like the others to be accepted by others. But what we don't understand is that every normal effing person is bored. Normality means the pattern repeat, it's familiar, so you don't freak out, but it's at the cost of receiving new patterns. That means I ask myself, how many future versions of me did my past selves betray? This is a poetic way of saying there was an opportunity cost. Like if I hadn't given these lectures, if I had let, my inner realms just remain private, do you understand? I would have been doing something in the outer realms, perhaps just for myself. The only thing is like, dude, like, living for yourself, that's justifiable as an individual. But why is an individual a member of the species? This is what we're missing. We're missing a collective identity, so the individual identity feels the burden of all of it is there. You know, you need to think of it this way, that imagine there is a giant rock and like a bunch of human beings, or like one person is holding a heavy weight. What happens when other human beings see it? Do you know? Human beings see another human being in trouble, right? They're like, okay, that's effed up, let's go help that human being, right? And why do we say that? Because we are conditioned to be in a sort of decent role. Do you understand? Like compassion, mercy. Do you know? Like so many people, like to me, I don't know how to say it. It is true that they have separated the scholars of civilization with the warriors of the civilization. So now the warriors are fools and the scholars are cowards. Okay? Guys, they just separated it. In the future, I like, if we go down a bad path, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'll tell you what I see. They're just gonna separate things. That's what institutionalization is. It's like, dude, this was a planet, let's turn it into nations. Dude, this was a nation, okay, let's turn it into towns. Okay, dude, like this is a town, okay, let's turn it into a group of people. All right, this is a group of people, all right, let's turn it into one person. Okay, and it's like, okay, this is just one person, all right, let's turn it into, in some sense, pieces of a person, right? Like, what else are they going to do? Human beings, like the whole human effort has been like, dude, we found something we don't understand, let's break it apart. And when they break it apart, they in some sense don't put it back together. What does that mean? We broke the world, we divided the world, and instead of conquering the world, we conquered ourselves. That's the hilarious story of humanity, the species that divided itself and conquered itself accidentally, thinking that it was dividing and conquering the enemy. We cannot expect, like, if somebody's like, dude, do you think racism will ever end? It's like, are you asking me if somebody identifies as different as everyone else, like they won't have any emotion in the future? It's like, the only way we won't have racism, okay, is if they are advanced human beings that don't identify with their cultural program. So let me say it like this. Right now, let's do a reality check, but hilariously, not a reality check, an identity check. Let's look at, like, let's just visualize a human being on Earth, any human being, random case study, and let's wonder about, okay, what can this human being identify with? Okay, like what are all the angles that this human being can identify? Okay, or where does it get its identity from? That's a more better question, a crystallized question. So let's look at it. You get your identity, your name, from your parents. So if you identify with your name, you're identifying with something you didn't choose. Keep that in mind. If you identify with culture or a group or a community or anything in the outer realms, you are in some sense getting, like, the world is giving you your identity. Okay, and you think that you can give yourself free will, you think you can give yourself identity, but you don't understand, the world got to you first. Poetically, the matrix invaded before we knew we were being invaded. Do you know what that means? And when I say matrix, I mean the contrast the contrast between a story replacing reality and the actual reality. Okay, so to me, I was, so I'll tell you my story. I'm like this human being. 12 years I've been giving these talks. In my inner realms, little did I know, my expectation of humanity was so much more better. It's like I was younger. Do you understand? And so I had less reality of how fucking demented and looping human beings can be. Okay, and then I realized, wait a minute, is it human beings that are cruel, evil, or is it the programming? If let's say person A tells person B to go do something bad, person B does something bad. Now, whose fault is that? Is that person B's fault for listening? We say yes, usually in Civ 1.0. But if they ask, where did the idea emerge? It's like a Macbeth situation, dude. It's like whispers in the ear. It's so funny. In like, let's say, Western New Age culture, okay, they have this view like, dude, I'm gonna go channel aliens right now. It's like, dude, let me choose which angel I'm gonna channel right now for you. They have that attitude. But and they are like, dude, that this inner voice, this is the difference, guys, between, okay, let me say it this way. Religion sees the inner voice as deception. But prior to religion, that inner voice was seen to be the logos. The logos was guiding man to build civilization. That means it's so weird. There's a ridiculous amount of accounts of ancient human beings, and they were not living life alone. Like they had a Jarvis. You know how Tony Stark has Jarvis in Iron Man? It's like, Jarvis, do everything for me. And Jarvis is like, yes, sir. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like they have a Jarvis, but now here's the funny thing. Right? I'll give you an example of an ancient person. There you have Heraclitus, who actually came up with the idea of the logos, the word logos. I think it started from him. And then you have Socrates, in where I think it's in the Republic, or I don't know where it was, but it's accounted by Plato, where Plato gives an account of Socrates, so Socrates, I don't know if people know this, Socrates was like Socrates was kind of doing like something I'm doing, but my views are so different than him, and I don't care about, I feel like back then everything, like I don't identify with past lives. Even if I had a past life, I wouldn't identify with it, because I know the past saw less. Do you understand? What value does my past self have aside from being an image, a feeling, and information? Pretty much human beings are experiencing the present moment as, yo, I'm alive and I'm experiencing, when they move on to the next moment, that moment becomes information. The brain is like, dude, I saw something, I can't forget it. Do you know what I mean? But we have moved past that physical moment and we have gone into a different moment, and the brain is like in a new room. Oh no, don't tell me. Oh my God, guys, hold on. We're good, we're back to it. So just like Tony Stark had Jarvis, Socrates was like teaching his own metaphysics, like talking about the nature of reality back then. Like, guys, it isn't gods on clouds, it's a deeper experiential reality, right? And then the people in Athens, he had enemies. And so his enemies came and, they're like, dude, this guy's corrupting the youth of Athens. It's like civilization 1.0 going to a civilizational 2.0 conscious being and being like, dude, you're ruining civilization 1.0. And Socrates knew, and Socrates gives an account. He goes to court and he goes inside and he gives this speech, okay? And he gives this speech and he says, my whole life, there has been a force that has always approved what I should do or not. He calls it the inner oracle. And he said, today when I came to the courthouse, the inner oracle told me to go in. So, guys, no way, shape, or form think that human beings are an intelligence, that is just limited to their own meaning generation. Something else is guiding this. Okay? Now, different traditions have different relationships with it, but my personal conclusion is that it's unconditional. In other words, what is guiding this world is not in this world. What is moving this world is not in this world. So if this world notices it's moving, it is not from here. This world is a specific condition. It's like, dude, why isn't my bedroom a gym? Yeah, because they're different rooms. Why isn't Earth paradise? Because they're different rooms. So what I have noticed is I have had this option. So look at I'm seeing it like this. I'm this biological, so the human being is born, you have this biological organism, and this biological organism either has an option to be a new subject that has never existed before and therefore be a new role, or go and loop in the pre-roles assigned from before. And this is the difference, I think, between, I guess, smart people and fools, even though I don't limit intelligence just to this realm, to measuring from this realm. But I think the difference between a smart being and a foolish being is that the foolish being is content with its mistakes. They say, what's the difference between a smart and stupid person, a foolish person? The smart person learns from their mistake the first time. The foolish person keeps repeating it. Now, somebody tell me, I'm seeing a species repeat the same mistakes. Anytime I hear somebody say, dude, history repeated itself, I'm like, disgusting. I'm like, dude, that's like spitting on novelty. The world is 95% unknown. Do you understand? It's 95% of this, we have no clue what's going on. And that 5% we claim knowledge was our own self-simulated symbolic assignments to an objective form that we can't explain from inside our experience. So you see, existence is bigger than you. You already know this. Okay, now you experience existence through a certain human format. So you experience, so technically, human beings are not just experiencing like space, like you're not space, you are the space around the body. Sometimes I have had days where I've walked outside and I've been like, dude, I'm obviously like a candle right now. My awareness is like the glow of a candle. It's like we're walking candles. The wick is the brain, but the light of the candle is not. So in other words, it could be that the biological energy, biological position is generating an energy that we don't understand. And that energy has access to a field where it is not individual to itself. I am seeing my species submitting to stories and being specific characters in those stories. And this is where really you know if you're in control of your life or not. If it feels new to you. If what you do feels new to you, you are free. If what you do doesn't feel new, like let's say you're a coffee barista, okay? You can, just like, how do I say it? Like you can in some sense have a new attitude every day. You could be a person who like goes, they put you in a place, it doesn't matter what environment they put you, and every day you experience that system, you begin noticing patterns and you begin updating those patterns. You don't understand. People, they are trying to prove something to themselves and to others. They will have egos for a very long time. They will fight. They will do meaningless things that only have meaning to them. Somebody can, imagine somebody thinks the wrong, like the person, made did something that made them angry, and they exert their anger, and they don't realize it's on the wrong person. Okay, like I may say something and the person might, like, you listen and you might not like the idea, but what Civilization 1.0 does is they think the idea is the person. You guys right now think that I am limited to the words I express, but I'm telling you, all of us behind our eyes, we are the presence of a moment. The whole point of it is, if you were to go look at the likes of Shir Ramana, this is like me pre-2023. I was very into Vedic insight, Vedic wisdom. Okay, I am like probably, you know, maybe one of the most. I'm like a Persian Canadian guy who's really deeply studied Vedanta. Like I've understood it. It's as if it's like. To me, reading the Bhagavad Gita strangely felt like I was reading something I had written. I don't know. I got that feeling. Okay. But I'll say it like this. What do you care about? If you don't care, I'll give you an example. If you don't care about your body, you don't go listen to gym content, right? You don't go research if you should do a bro split or PPL, for example, right? It's like what you don't care about, you don't go further in. Like if there's two people in a relationship, and when I say care, this care is different, okay? I'm not saying desperate. Because desperate is like, there's a saying, they say, dude, a hungry man will eat anything. A thirsty person will drink anything, right? And to me, it's kind of bizarre because they have made Civilization 1.0 desperate for the system that keeps them in the loop. Do you understand? That means many of you don't know any other way. You don't know any other civilization than 1.0. And if you don't ask questions, you will never see anything else. Like, how else could you see anything else? You have to ask yourself, before I assign right and wrong, before I assign true and false, what is there? What is happening? Do you understand? Ontology is like, look at something before you had an opinion on it, before you have a pre-opinion on it. Like, dude, all these gurus being like, be in the here and now. Why are they saying that? They're saying don't let the past filter who you can be in the future. And I'm sure even me, all of us are filtering ourselves. I just see it. We are so deeply conditioned, okay, that when I'm alone, it's a completely different feeling, freedom of speech, compared to when I'm around others. I'm like, yo, what's appropriate to say? Is it my place to say? Should I say it? It's like, should I become responsible for the emotions of this being? It's like a part of me believes like, no, every person should be responsible. Do you understand? It's too much calculation, right? Like how do I say it? Some people are blessed in different ways. I first of all believe everybody's blessed. There's an African saying that if everybody on the planet went and put their problems in a great fire, everybody would run to get their problems back because there's someone on earth who has a bigger problem than you. So technically there is never a justification to complain. So in other words, I can't complain how bad the past was because, dude, they didn't have cappuccinos back then. They didn't have restrooms and stuff like that. Do you understand? Like I can't complain, right? When the further you go back, you see more. Think of it this way: the soul is like this invisible player, and this invisible player for a long time was just playing with biology. Okay, and then it noticed that the biology could do something unique, just like a video game. Oh my god, did I just unlock a new move? And so what this being did was, in some sense, it created psychological representations of reality. You don't get it, you know. It's a majority of meaning is subjective models that we have made so synonymous with the object that we think that by me calling that a tree, now that's a tree. It's like, dude, everything is a random object I'm looking at, unless I can, in some sense, assign a pattern to it. You know, so in some sense, humanity is a pattern recognizing entity. So our species has organized itself in patterns, and the only reason I'm talking about this from a sort of political context, you know, it's not even political, more cultural. I speak through culture more than politics, actually. Politics is not. I know I'm not one of those souls. You understand that? Like I feel like that game is. I'm too old. Not too old. I've seen too much to play that game. You know. When I was younger, it's so funny. I wanted to go and be a part of people's worlds because I did not see any value in my own. And now, at the age of 34, I'm like, dude, I outgrew the civilizational archetype. And it's as if, like, behind my eyes, I have access to a way more advanced reality than I'm living in front of my eyes. And what's funny is advancement doesn't mean a concept just advanced in a fixed context. It's never been a fixed context. Many human beings do not know that if you are all trained to sequentially understand. Do you know what that means? That means you go from A to B to C to D to E. You in some sense, pile up patterns. So we sequence reality. I gotta go do this to get that to then be that. But I'm telling you, there's a way you're existing you are present as intelligence in the moment, where all the things that you're sequencing, you already are. It's like, dude, am I an individual or am I a field of being? You see, God did create the soul, but God also created many things that were not revealed in, let's say, holy books. God created that which we will never understand, to the degree that in the Islamic universe, metaphysics, philosophy, all of this is, they say, is unnecessary. Why? Because in the holy book it says the unseen is in the jurisdiction of the system admin. Now the challenge is, how far can man see? But that is also assigned and it's attributed to the mercy of the system admin. People don't understand. Think of it this way. Everybody has a master. This is not a nice thing to say, but let's say everybody is serving some master. You know that scene in, like, what's it called? You know that scene in Avengers where Doctor Strange looks at the, what's his name, Quill or something, like Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's like, what master do you serve? You know? So what he's saying there, okay, is he's saying what agency superior to you is moving you. That's what it's saying, right? So in other words, if you look at it, either it's conditional masters or unconditional masters or master. Okay? So what do you serve? If you serve yourself, You're serving a subjective and objective system. Do you understand? If you serve, think of it this way, you're serving either conditions or you serve the unconditional, and the only way you can serve the unconditional is not being a condition. So that's what the submission of the condition was. This is the same in Islam, where you put down your nafs and you bow to the original power of reality. Do you understand? The original being. And in Christianity you have baptism, right? And baptism means being born again, but born again as what? As God conscious. Now you're not in the same world. There is a Lord you serve, but it is the unconditional truth that the conditional truth points to. The conditional truths change. Okay, back to it. Folks, what can I say? There was a saying that Commander Erwin Smith in Attack on Titan said, he said, we live for those who will find the truth and find the meaning someday. We may be limited at our current position. There's certain actions and protocols that we can do as members of a species, but the greatness of humanity is in its vision, because its vision decides where it goes and where its life force moves. Right now, your species, in some sense, is being held in an ideological simulation. But this ideological simulation was an achievement and it was necessary. Why? In some sense, the natural world used to be your master. You, in some sense, mastered the natural world, and you now are getting a taste of the unnatural world. And so, in some sense, it is no longer nature telling us what to do. It is humans before we were born telling us what to do. And we think that we are free. Let me tell you, if you are not different from everyone else, you are not free. Only the unique are free. Anything else that loops, you're in some sense you're already trapped. I shouldn't say trapped, but you're leashed. The past, past certainty of what is real is like treating the present like a dog on a leash, and it's like, yeah, dog, only go where your past allows you, or what you've recognized in the past. It is an unknown world. The relationship with the past, the relationship with the future, these are known relationships. It's pretty much, you have a relationship with what you are, and you have a relationship with what you were and what you can be. To me, I noticed a very strange pattern. I'm like, okay, if civilization 1.0 is looping from past to present, that means everything we see in the present, its meaning is looping in accordance to what was real to us in the past. The concept of trust means that what I see in front of me has to pass through a filter of how I have recognized trust in this lifetime. Everybody is being picky. How advanced can it all be? Ask yourself this. And how advanced can you be? This is where life starts, in some sense, marching towards its greatness. Yeah, you had forgotten that sentence. You had forgotten that you had greatness. You had forgotten that every moment has potential. We know that if even breaking the smallest subatomic particles has a potential for a nuclear reaction. There's hidden potential beyond the surface of reality to everything that thinks it's just the surface of reality. The surface of reality is not even the surface of reality, I was looking into like these people, like I've had a bunch of like flat earthers come up to me, and I'm like, all right, we're all hidden. It's like, dude, who knew snow is veiling geography? People don't understand the Night's Watch. Like, those are the flat earthers. Flat earthers are the Night's Watch. They see beyond the wall. But who put the wall there? It could also be you. It is so much more easier for me to get angry at myself than others. It is so much easier to get upset at myself than others. It is so much easier to dislike myself, before disliking others. The inner realms is just opportunity. You right now are energy, are you not? Energy, they say, cannot be created or destroyed, just changes from form to form, and those forms are pretty much like kind of like potential energy, kinetic energy, leads to new potential and all of this. But what it's implying is that it's a relationship between two different dynamics. We have light and darkness. There's duality everywhere. And when it comes to us, we're like, nah, dude, we're going to be individuals. Let me tell you, the body and the ego are a duality, but the awareness to that duality is the soul. When they say you're living one life, they don't mean that your body is living one life. Your body is a part of life. It is not all of life. So the mystery stands. We must wonder about truly what is reality. I don't know why I feel like reading some of my poems. Just like, yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to read a couple poems before I end off. And really, I should just learn not to. I keep trying to be nice to Civilization 1.0. But I know it is because it's looping, it is heartless. Human beings, if objects have no meaning, the meaning is arising from within. It means the object can be given any meaning. If you're an object, you can be given any meaning. I wrote this poetry book called Rahmana. In 2016. I'm going to read some poems from there. Okay, this one stands out. It's called The Heart of the Absolute. It's poem 27. You can go and purchase these books and help me out too. They're on the Mr.Within bookstore. All right. This poem, I wrote it in 2016. The Heart of the Absolute. Who is the king of dawn? Shattered by no force other than the love of all that I am in one moment of being. The doors of heaven are made of earth. Do not doubt the wisdom of the world you're in. Every child began deathless. Creation has not mistaken you. Out of the ignorance of creators who only bought the brand of underwear made of leaves. It says, I'll read that again. It says, creation has not mistaken you. Out of the ignorance of creators who only bought the brand of underwear made of leaves. There is no evil impulse. All are the self within the other, of absolute self-reflective acceptance. Do not fight the eternal unknown with temporal knowledge. Did you know you are connected to everything? Guys, my poem is telling me I'm trying too hard. And I am used to being alone. I expect that from myself. But I did not expect it from I don't know, all the people who have heard these talks so far. It's like no one heard the lectures. It's not that no one heard the lectures, no one understood what they heard. Not they didn't understand what they heard, but that their past did not let them see who they can be. Your past is stealing who you can be from you by you choosing to loop in it. Depression, dude, that's like the person is looping so intensely, they feel so incapable in the outer realms and the present, that they're identifying with the past self and they're feeling the incapability of the past. I'm going to go read another poem. This other poem is called Secrets of the Universe Within. Let me put a different song. Secrets of the Universe Within. I wrote this again 2016. Oh moment, what have I not yet seen? So Secrets of the Universe Within, I'm going to read it. Who moves your hand when after midnight your hand has reached for water in a glass as fridge doors open with one command? Trust yourself. It is all that we can do to be the purity of our own self-emanating truth. Sorry guys, I need a quick break. Oh man, let me read it quickly. Who moves your hand when after midnight your hand has reached for water in a glass as fridge doors open with one command? Trust yourself. It is all that we can do to be the purity of our own self-emanating truth. The cosmos has bestowed all existential beings with the divine gift. All that you seek is within all that is. Be the self that was always facing here facelessly. The glory of existence is a now. I wrote that with a capital N. The glory of existence is a now that needs no ending. Dude, I have never thought why it needs an ending. Anyways, guys, give me a second. I'll be back. Alright guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'll read the next poem. It's called Self-Emanating Truths. The joy of lavish untidings is a now that cannot end. Can the knot be opened? Can you look at these words and see your mind, and to see your mind become the sky? Can the pen that does not break fix the letter's mistake? Is language a barrier to the divine? If so, why so? How have heaven and earth walked in the same moment? All divine chess pieces must go back into the box of starlight where time and space are checkered in their dualistic gameplay. Self-emanating truths suggest how what is within you is also within the universe and the moment it is. Oh my god, this next poem has a cool title. I'll read it. It says, "The pen that has been in the hand of every poet." Has the title of an empty page astonished you? Does it seem that selflessness is through sincerity the greatest technology? What has made space dance with time? The pen that has been in the hand of every poet is one moment. Are secrets given away freely, or is there an exchange beyond the words of the mind? Do not be worried about the extra commas, for from a vertical world the horizon of all heavenly view can be found to be the spark of the moment's sacred touch. All poetry is divine movement in one moment. Do not doubt that the doubter is fearless behind unnecessary fear. Keep the heart of mankind clean and clear. For in purity and absolute piety, the world is unborn as one. How does the heart beat for you? Are tired limbs ready to fly beyond the ignorance of the scars of sacrifice? Perhaps this page is giving the mind of existence a chance to sing as an unhidden melody. Some human beings are called by the moon to write many lines of poetry for the sun. If you are one, written with a capital O here, if you are one of them, do not forget your divine nature. Raw talent is everywhere. May this secret never be kept hidden. You are the moment that the totality of existence has allowed revelation to be finally opened. The love of truth is an open window beyond any room. When the pen finds your hand, smile and set the world free. Your heart knows the words, keep breathing. Within all worlds is the now of the now, written with the capital and the second now. So is the now, written with a small n, of the now. That means, yeah, the present is connecting the worlds. Okay, this next one is an interesting poem from the poetry book Rahmana. It says, "The king threw a rock at me. Are gold coins a nuisance for a beggar that has no pockets? What is a beggar when we are all trying to be free from our ignorance? Is life so kind to allow genius to continue its walk? Enough questions. Where does the answer come from? Trust the glory of existence's blessing that is you. We are all rainbow children in the prism, P-R-I-S-M, in the prism of truth. Whether the Floyd is pink or she is singing out her lungs on stage, we are all seeking the moment of moments. If you are confused, that is beautifully important, for there has been a fusion of cons. Do you trust the writer with the divine tongue? Some blind men speak too much through all that they see. Can the moment be free? If you're a king, don't throw rocks at yourself, for existence has always been in the same place. Doubt does not belong here." The next poem is Coded Numbers of the Divine. I'll probably read this as the last one. Coded Numbers of the Divine. Yes, you are correct. This is not the movie Matrix, and there are no pills needed. Sometimes numbers may grow angelic wings and become an empty mirror reflecting the only truth. Can the divine be the breath of the breath within you? Your life is your life. Are you ready to live it? We are all crumbling leaves in spring. Do not let any shadow convince you that it's dark. Wow. Okay, actually, I'm going to read the next one. It says, the multidimensional benevolence of the one true God. It says, does God, with a capital G, I've written it, does God enjoy a tearless reflection in the mirror? Life is more than words. This is the best kept secret of life. Have you already been revealed to yourself? I am a poet of starlight. If you hadn't guessed yet, I am a guest of this world. For my beloved reader, you're not reading these words, but your own mind. All angelic imagery opens its wings in the now, with a capital N, I've written it. The wonder of liftoff is that we choose how language moves. You are a conscious traveler within the absolute. All guessing games must be put aside like weapons in the hand of a child. Wow. It says, war is not for human beings or from them. The wise ones know this. Let the heart of life be fully open. All right, guys, I think I know what I'm doing after I reach Talk 2700. Guys, this next poem has a pretty cool title. I'm going to read it too. It says, the sky moves for no one. And guys, this is from Rahmana, poetry book I wrote in 2016. Oneness has become the recent news. Is God surprised? How do, God with a capital G, I've written. How do your eyes feel about their sight in an empty sky? Is it possible for emptiness to look in its own eyes? The benevolence of non-violence is that it allows other to see self through the other self. The sky moves for no one. That is why the divine is here with a capital H. Yo, I feel like in the future, people are going to use that expression. It's like, yo, the sky moves for no one. Relax, bro. You know, it's like, I feel like, it's so funny. When I give these talks, I get inner realm vision sometimes of who in the future might hear them. Like, you guys, I have no way how to explain this to you, but it's like when I give the talk, there's an emotion underneath it that already knows what needs to happen. And when I'm in that, when I become sensitive to that already, when I trust that feeling that already knows, okay, in some sense, it's just there. You see, we're like antennas that haven't been moved enough to see what kind of signals they can receive. And that's the thing. Sometimes we receive signals and reality is different. Like I think it was a couple days ago, I got this person, he wrote like these comments. Actually, let me read it. Let me read this. And so you guys can see like how, and I was having a bad day. Like the person's comments came on the YouTube channel at a day where I was like seeing, like, how do I say it? It was like I was breaking down in some of the talks emotionally, and then I saw this comment and it was, but anyways, here, let me see if I can read it, find it and read, because the answer was interesting. All right, let me see. Okay. There we go. So somebody I gave this talk called Talk 2671. MW. So I've coded all the lectures, guys, by the way. You can just go and type the lecture number. So I'll give you an example. Like, I mean, it takes a day for them to process, but give it like 2 days for the newest lectures. But you can type in MW2671 and that video pops up as the first video. So I've made searching for the lectures very easy. If if people want to, like, just letting people know. So the title of that lecture was When the Human Species Realized Everything Else Was Dehumanized. And I gave this 5 days ago. Somebody came and said, get your shit together. You're awesome and these are awesome and I expect better of you. Good luck and come back better, bro. Now, I was having a bad day. I said you're awesome too, but how about you and 8.1 billion people get your shit together? You're all looping in Civilization 1.0, and anything that is not familiar to your past you consider not real and attack. All right. I mean, that's that. I was a bit, I was having an intense day that day. Okay. And then the person says, with love as always, of course. I wrote, with love as always for your advanced potential self that is already walking in Civilization 2.0. Okay, but I think but then they wrote this bigger comment. Okay, now this comment, I really appreciate this person who wrote this. Okay. But I did not communicate it in my comments. The person said, I've been listening a long time. The 45-minute 30-second is wild and really not very supportive of everybody. It goes against her entire ethos and mission statement. All right. It says, in fact, the last little while, it's been clear that you're struggling to separate your personal biases from the internet or purpose of the lecture. Okay. Then this person says, 10 years ago, it wasn't ChatGPT plus political oppression. This is a crazy way to go. Okay. Now, I think it'd be interesting, even if this person was listening, like how I'm hearing this. Okay. What I responded. Now, granted, I was having an intense day, but this is, I don't know. I guess I'm reading my own comment from 5 days ago. I said, firstly, thank you for taking the time to write a comment. I acknowledge it as a superior effort compared to just watching from a distance like a ghost. And I respect it, but that's all I respect. You have just opened Pandora's box. What do you think? Okay, so this is how I think I said in the. I said, who do you think you are? And do you think that I am who you think I am? And then I said, wake the F up. You want Monkey to dance and fit into what makes everyone happy and loop in what he was saying 10 years ago and had made people feel, I have no clue who any of you are behind your eyes to try to satisfy or adjust to you. 10 years ago, the world appeared simpler to me. So I had simpler perspectives on it. What I see now is so different from what I saw back then. Where have you been? Let me remind you of some math. 10 years equals 3,650 days. If after 3,650 days of living in this world, you expect me to say and do the same things as 10 years ago, then you haven't unfortunately evolved since 10 years ago. Not only have you not understood the lectures, but you still remain as a brainwashed Civilization 1.0 zombie, trapped in time. I know this is hard to hear, but it's harder to see. It's like I'm seeing a program looping. What makes you think you know what I need to say in the talks? Just because you feel a certain way in the past? Are you the one giving them? Do you have my eyes? In regards to why I use AI, so I'm reading my comment to this person. For some reason, I'm reading that now. And so I said, in regards to why I use AI, all warriors and craftsmen in history used the technologies of their time. It was common sense. You want me to fight against swords with a stick? If this was in medieval times, I'd be writing my talks on parchment and reading the newest scrolls out loud. If this was the future, I'd command Jarvis to present the most recent findings in hologram form to everyone's holograms. It doesn't matter if I use AI for research or I use quote tunnels or whatever, or even you hear my points of view. If you think the future has to fit into what is just personally familiar to you, you're missing the point. The research is just about accessing different perspectives. Then I say, let me try to say this gracefully. You are in an unknown world as an unknown being. Civilization 1.0 is a storytelling operation. You're looping as a character in the same story and you don't even realize it. The majority of the species is as well. What you consider real is only based on what you consider real from before. If it doesn't fit into that box, you push the unfamiliar away. Everything you look at, you define its meaning from the past. That is the essence of Civilization 1.0. Not only are you limited to your past, but you're trying to limit me to your past as well. It's not just you, everyone is doing this. Feel free to loop in my past talks if you like, and if you can't handle the new ones, fly off to a different branch in cyberspace. I'm not just giving these talks for you, and I won't ever limit how far my awareness truly sees this world. Just because someone's past self's expectation wasn't met, then I say the poet Hafiz says, bring your neck out of that dark nest where you hide. I will pour effulgence into your mind. The effulgence is Civilization 2.0. When you're done acting like you know me better than me based on your own past and decide to stop looping, I'll be waiting for you in Civilization 2.0 alongside the future generations. And then man, I wrote so much. By the way, you give me the impression of someone who heard a few talks years ago, maybe recently heard a new one. Logically, if you had listened to how I had built up to my current perspectives, you wouldn't be surprised. I explain everything usually. But still, I don't know who you are, and good for you for sharing your truth. That's closer to Civ 2.0. I am way past your antithesis. Try to understand the synthesis I'm talking about instead of pulling me to loop into your unique past impression of me that felt comfortable to you. And then after that, nothing happened. But I appreciate the fact that somebody cared enough to come and write a comment. All you people listening to my lectures, you don't get it. You have a chance to ignite the greatest conversations in the comment section. And it's funny, I know why, right? Like, I wasn't raised with an expectation of my acceptance to others. That means because I had invalidated myself, I felt invalid to others, so I never expected validation from them. Okay, it was very easy, to just kind of be an observer in this realm than a participant, right? But I didn't realize that because I didn't like myself, it was as if also I didn't like others. But it's not that I didn't like others, I didn't like what I expected of others. But as you grow and as you live days on this planet, at some point you get a sense of the controls. Like, it's not possible for someone to like if you right now, let's say right now, if let's say you're a young kid, okay, and somebody comes and says, can you ride the bicycle? Let's say you're at the age that you can ride a bicycle, and you're like, no, I can't do it, I'll fall. Everybody is attending this life like an event. Like when you go and attend a concert, you wait outside, let's say you give the ticket and then you go inside into the concert area and you wait for the artists or the musicians to come on stage and perform. Strangely, it feels like, dude, I don't remember buying the ticket. I don't, it was like before my birth, unseen. I don't remember. If I try to calculate life, 95% of it, the world is unknown and 5% is known. So, what are the benefits of being a known being? You access 5%. What's the benefit of being an unknown being? What other percentage can we access? And the hunter-gatherer archetype was all about you start in a defined place, you roam beyond the limits of that place. In the same way, like, to me, an advanced civilization and civilization 2.0, they are like a super sand species. Do you understand? It's like a species that understood that it has the power to have a more advanced relationship with itself and everything. Guys, I don't know why I'm being called to read another poem. Let's see what it is. It's from Rahmana, the same book, but I'm feeling I should read it. Okay, the poem is called God's Beacon. God's Beacon. Are you God's example? Are you the great reflection in the mirror of life? What is so free that all regulation transcends space and time? Can the breath of now be absolute? Can life be shaken without hands made of words? Are you a truth seeker or just obsessed with names you haven't heard yet? All life is precious, know this very deeply, for the white dove may have no idea it is the beacon for peace. Wow. In such a complex universe, never doubt the little things. Oh my God. Ya Rab, my Lord, O system admin, forgive me. I have ignored the details. I have ignored the details. That's why. Oh my God, guys. I have been so pulled into the inner realms in the last 12 years that I have not actually paid attention to a lot of the details in the outer realms for an experiential entity. To me, it's like there's no such thing as personality anymore. These are rooms that we animate in. And the last poem I'll read, it says, it's from Rahmana 2016. I wrote this. It says, you are your strength. You are your strength. No one can give it to you. The universe cries some nights only because it has realized its existence in one verse. Do not fear the words of the unknown. The world is not a trap, but a great allowance. Be so free that an empty sky smiles at every fading cloud. If you think this poem is short, what about the human lifespan? Love makes no mistakes until the very end, but even then there is not a mistake. How could divine reunion be misplaced? So, anyways, dear readers, the effort was to say that on some level I see human beings are generating, in some sense, like the biological energy is going to being an invisible role Now that invisible can be repeat, you're following the past, or it can be new. And the reason it should be new is because we're not a civilization of clones. We shouldn't become a civilization of clones. All gardens shouldn't just be one flower. We should understand that this is a collaboration project between subjective models on reality and the objective nature that has an authority greater than us. Like this world is bigger than us, right? The planet is the alpha male. We're all beta males. Like if there's an earthquake, it doesn't matter how alpha you are. Do you know what? Like somebody's gonna go smoke a Cuban cigar, and with their Bugatti and a gun in their hand and be like, "I'm an alpha male. Everybody, shut up!" And it's like, dude, the Pharaoh was an alpha male. What happened to him? A divine male came, prophets came and said, like, what are you guys doing thinking that you have power and when you're visiting this place to own? Like, dude, you know what it is? It's like being human is like you're a tourist in another country. You went in the hotel, but the hotel, you think that that hotel, like, you forgot the country you're from and you think that hotel is your whole world. Do you understand? You think that the hotel is your house until one day the person's going to be like, "Sir, you got to check out." Right? So at some point, we all have checked in to this, system. It's like, dude, I'm an unknown being and I'm touring this, known human system in what is actually present in an unknown world. The unknown is the reality where the known was born from. Do you get it? All knowledge was born from the unknown. The unknown is the parental figure of knowledge. It was there before knowledge arose. So to me, I'm like, dude, human beings are just assigning subjects to objects and sequencing them and limiting themselves to characters in a story. Right now, that's 2026. That's what human beings are doing. You go ask someone, who are you? They tell you a name and they explain their character, what their character has done in the story so far. So, I don't know. There's something deep here. Anyways, folks, and these invisible roles, okay, like, for example, the Wright brothers invented the plane, okay, and then the invisible archetype of a pilot was born. Now, the invisible archetype of a pilot is so immortal that it transcends Earth. That invisible archetype, that means there's going to be people outside of Earth, let's say in a space station or something, you know, and they're going to pilot a spaceship, but that spaceship is not on Earth anymore. That means the archetype of the pilot surpasses how the system limits us. Do you know? You guys don't get it. In the same way you were taught a language, it's like this, guys. Civilization 1.0 is just the language that these unknown beings have been conditioned to limit their reality to. To me, anytime I hear people who say, "Yo, man, I'm not creative. Yo, that's too deep," I hear like, I'm sorry, I hear like I hear like cowards of civilization 1.0. That means it's unavoidable. Eventually, people go and experience life, and their value systems change. And even what a friend is, the idea of a friend is always friendly. But a friend what the friend is cannot be. People get offended when their inner realm expected the outer realm to happen in a certain way and it didn't, and they think it had to happen that way because they think what they see is the only way reality is. It's more unknown than known. I think I consider that to be the liberation. For me, God is not some known shape or form. It doesn't make sense to me that way. What Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, said was, in some sense, there is a singular. There is a singular truth. There is an original truth beyond the simulated stories of the world. To me, why the holy books I treated as revelation? Because they are not written by a mind of an individual. It is there's something. We see this in some poets. I think the poet Hafez had this next level poem which I can't remember, but I think he compared like poets to be like lifeboats, like small boats. He considered religions to be great ships. So, I have to in some sense understand that the outer realms prefers me to accept it before I even wonder who I am. Everybody that gets to know you based on how you treat them, they get expectations on you, and if those expectations don't match, it's like you're not you to them. But that's the brainwashing, that we think people have to be limited to what we see out of them. Anyways, thank you for listening. And so I think there's a grand purpose here. I think human beings are not just nature goofing around. It's like human beings are they have access to something that many things don't. That means right now, if they tell me what is the most advanced non technology, non what is the most advanced natural technology I've seen, it is the human being. That's like, if they tell me right now in the outer realms what are the most advanced technologies, well, I'll be like, okay, being our consciousness presented through our biological position seems to be way more advanced, because we're not just existing as an NPC in this existential simulation. We're not just part of the environment. We are that agency that decides to some degree what this means. But it's kind of like you think you're just living your own life in your own world, and then you begin to notice, no, there is a greater freedom. To me, there's conditional freedom and there's unconditional freedom. And people who really cared about enlightenment, they suffered and they wanted unconditional freedom. Okay? But the Buddhists comprehended it as the nullification of the self, of the ego. For example, for a Muslim, it was the submission of the ego. Buddhists are nullifying their ego, meaning that they're being like, dude, it's more, how do I say it? From a Buddhist perspective, the true nature of everything is empty, and the mind is like a program that you are not, that as you watch, you don't need to be. That means the moment it functions in accordance to something that's not just an analysis. It's like, dude, who knew? These biological beings that were just like, jumping from tree to tree, are now dressed in clothing, in strange cloth, have invisible names, notice invisible, like what law is to me. Many people say break the laws, but on some level, it's like you don't need to. You need to ask yourself why the law is there, and you'll understand law is invisible management. That means that's why every company has their policies. And also a nation has policies. So there's an invisible life. That's why we go to school, to be able to comprehend this invisible system of meaning that we have created. We have pretty much It's as if we got so bored of just staring at objects that we were like, dude, what if the world could move without me moving? And that's pretty much like I guess the fascination that led to the realization. Because how mind-blowing would it be? Just imagine the early human beings, guys, and imagine like the first beings that notice they have memories. How scary is that? Like they would have been insane. Guys, there was insanity because they did not understand. They did not have numerology yet. Do you understand? To them, experience, movement in the moment. All we are beings in a system, and everything is the movement of it. It's the sophistication of the movement. The meaning of life is to move in ways that have never been moved before, and that is why you are, when you move, when you trust, let me say it this way, when you trust your life force, like you're a force of life right now. You put batteries in like those old school speakers, okay? Similarly, the human being is energy. It's in some sense it's like not only we have a battery life, but it's like we're not only are we hardware, there's a software. And the software was not created where the hardware was created. Our minds are not from earth. We're not created on earth, but our bodies are. And the soul was created before a world, before this world. It's like, yo, dude, it doesn't matter. It's like I've surpassed cultural framing, which all past ideological systems I consider. That means to me, if they're like deep down, what do you really believe in here? What are you doing here, Mr. Within? Why are you giving 10,000 talks? Why do you want to make mankind better? I think it's something that my soul knew before my mind, but I will tell you, you know how when you, let's say you're looking for a bank and you go into a mall and you find like a bank, okay? It's like when you see the bank, you kind of know where you are. It's like the moment is in uncertainty until you see the bank, for example, and then there's a certainty. You were expecting, like in your inner realms, you knew there was a bank there, but you had never gone to that mall before, imagine. And when you step into that mall, you're stepping into a new room. Human beings have lost appreciation for architecture, you know? I've been someone where I'm telling you, for me, design is very divine. Okay? You don't understand. Design to me is like, if they were like, Mr. Within, can you give endless lectures on design? I'll be like, yeah, I figured it out. The reason everything is there in your moment of experience is because there are things that can be used. It's as if, how do I say it? As a Muslim futurist, this is my view, not my view, but this is the understanding to my view, okay, to the view I have now. So think of it this way. In the Islamic universe, the Holy Quran, in the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the Holy Quran, there's a verse, and I'm a visual learner, which it says, God does not put someone in a situation that it has not already prepared them for. What does that mean? That means whatever you experience, it doesn't matter if it's easy, hard, pleasant, unpleasant, right or wrong. It's as if you are experiencing reality, you're prepared for it. That means it's like if I am giving talks on the nature of existence, sorry guys, I gotta let this phone call end. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but probably, yeah, right? Anyways, going back to it, guys, what I'm trying to tell you is what is my value? What is the value? Why do we go on YouTube to even see things? Okay, because we're familiar with our own universe and we're looping in it, okay, and we want to discover new universes. Human psychology is the ability to somehow interlink and build a bridge between all the members of the species. That's really what the commonality in reality is. If they're like, what is the value of the normal? I'm like, okay, at least we're all accepting this behavior as normal. Like if somebody wears a top hat right now, it was normal back in the day, but it's not normal right now. If somebody wears a top hat, we're like, okay, this person's trying to stand out. Okay? This person's trying to communicate something. For a lot of people, clothing is a communication. This is something I didn't understand. You know, I was like, how do I say it? I would just have black shirts and black pants, you know? And I just bought, like, I found one piece of clothing and I bought a bunch of it, you know, and it just lasted me years, you know? I guess what I'm here to say is that there's so many people that they say they love they love themselves, they love everyone, they love this world, they love God. But to me, I feel that love is too soon. That is a love of that is a more fictional love. Okay? And so how do I explain it? It's like we should have trust. You know, greater than all archetypes, I'm realizing, bro, 95% of the world is unknown and people are asking me, what am I doing? Should I throw a dog a bone or should I treat mankind as if, like, like, sometimes I don't know. I don't know if I should, like, let a human being loop in Civilization 1.0 or in some sense, like, how do I say it? Show them Civilization 2.0 through words. You see, this world doesn't give you honor. Civilization 1.0 has stripped you of your honor. You don't understand? It has stripped itself of honor too. Do you understand? We're living civilized. There's people who go and, like, you know, watch, like, you know, lectures about neurophysics, you know. I shouldn't say neurophysics, but neurology, and how, in some sense, you're looking at dimensions of life where the story was a travel through various mediums of expression. In other words, we, on some level, we had physics, then we had chemistry, then we had biology, then we had psychology, then we had sociology, then we had politics. And then we outgrew our politics and remembered again that we are one species on Earth. Do you know? For me, if I don't have kids, you know, but if I did have kids, I'd be like, remember this. I will teach my kids that before you judge or do anything to any human being, realize that they might be a confused member of the human species that in some sense they have lost themselves in the outer realms because of the enforcement their ego. You don't understand what the ego is. Everything is programs. It's an identity. It's like, why should I be a self? Oh yeah, for the self to do something. It's like, why am I being separate right now? Why are we not being like trees connected to the earth? Why can we move around on the earth? There's a reason this separation is there. And this separation is as natural as there being no separation, because we don't get to decide. That's the hilarious thing. We get to decide in the limited worlds we fabricate for ourselves. But on some level, I am telling you, language is, we may be looping as a species in Civilization 1.0. Civilization 1.0 is looping because it thinks value is only from past to present. When you understand value is also from future to present, that's a game changer. Then your heart will open. You will start hearing the heartbeat of the species. And you know what the heartbeat of the species is? It is all the unborn future generations, all the human beings that will ever live, all the human beings that will come and create problems and solve problems, all the human beings that will come and be chaotic and be ordered, so all those human beings that will come and be cruel and kind. All of them are watching you. To me, I feel them. I feel the future generations watching me. Liberation is clarity from an unconditional state if you were a conditional simulated entity. And you know, there's going to come a time they're going to be like, this dude was talking about this stuff in 2026. And they're not going to understand it, because let me tell you what Civilization 1.0 does. You're all zombies. Let me tell you what Civilization 1.0 does. Civilization 1.0, because it thinks that reality is only what is familiar, it does not let itself advance. You don't understand. You're all trying to fulfill the dreams of your past at the cost of all the different states and views of life you can access. Remember who you are by realizing the nature of being. It starts with presence. And on some level, like, dude, the same question, what are humans doing, is the same question, what is energy doing, you know, in an energetic place. And they're like, bro, dude, I don't understand. There was no logic to evolution. Guys, evolution is the most illogical thing. How have we not noticed this? Let me tell you why it's illogical. Like, past evolution is explainable at Darwin's time. But if we were to imagine we didn't have evolution and we were to discover it now, it would not explain certain things. They're saying because the past was this, the present is this now. I think that's a very dangerous way of talking about reality when it's 95% unknown, yo. And the 5%, you've taken the 5% of reality, the world, you know? We've taken 5% of the world. Wow. It's like the more you want to empower the individual, it's like the more, if I want to right now advance myself, it's as if it's strange, because I will be limited to the starting point of the reference I have of myself in the past. Like, how do I explain it to you? Right now I'm in the present. Right now I'm in the present moment. Now, I can remember yesterday something I did, okay? So I have that memory from yesterday. But right now I'm existing in the present. So it's as if present moment was there in the room first, then the memory, which was the past moment, right? A moment from the past, like a pre-recorded, verified moment. To me, the difference between future visualizations and past memories is just verification based on the present. The present has verified the past happened. The future, you don't know what has happened. What we feel beyond the human archetype. That's the very profound clue. The system admin is the original state of being. We're all simulated here. You know, our bodies are simulated here for some time. Our personalities are, let's say, 16 hours a day simulated in the conscious waking state. In that conscious waking state, it's like, dude, sure, you think that you've lived all these years. No. We've unconsciously, right now I am unconsciously 34 years old. But if you ask me how many in these 34 years, how many moments entered your consciousness, and they were so important that in some sense they reached the roots of the long-term memory, I will say it's very strange. It's like I've been hopping as consciousness from daily simulations of reality, only to realize that whatever idea of objective subjective, it's like I'm using an object and subject like sticks and stones, like cavemen, to like create new sparks. But I'm realizing it's like, dude, something can be built here far superior to what the individual knows. There's a reason that we've gathered around here, whether we ascribe it to a visible or invisible agency. There's a reason the game looks like this now. And when you are fascinated by the game, you in some sense live a fascinating life. If I have kids in the future and they come and say, what's the most important value in life? I'll be like, fascination. Fascination is the gate to greatness. I don't know how else, it's like that's poetic enough, like. But anyways, thank you for listening, everybody, dear humanity. Civilization 1.0, you're all looping zombies, and I hope to, on some level, see the day where you honor the potential and your potential energy, which you have avoided all this time. The future is your potential. People are like, dude, don't think about the future. It creates anxiety. No, buddy. You're either looping in the past, and you're in the present, and the meaning is arising from you referencing it to the past, or you just stop referencing it to the past, and you're like, thanks, past. And they say the past is past. So it's like, dude, my past happened. Now I am this force of life in the moment. And for the first time, I am not limited to past reference points. I can be present and look at the future, and I can see the most advanced order, and I can see the most advanced chaos. It depends on the style of your soul, and in some sense how you have been commanded here by the system admin. But you'll learn it. It's all about trust. But unconditional trust, which is, religion tries to teach that as faith, but people think it's conditional faith. They don't realize God and the soul is way more important, okay, than than making everybody behave the same way. You understand? God is controlling it. We can't choose to claim the unseen. Even though we do that, and I did that very unconsciously, in the sense that I was like, all right, the human being is telling itself a story. The story is made of language, so the expansion of consciousness is the expansion into new uncharted territories of linguistic movement. It's like there's so much of this that is uncharted. It's like, think of it this way. Intellect is like, all right, there's a self in a world and it's solving problems, like pretty much, and so the intellect identifies the problem, looks at the geometry of the problem, and in some sense, if it can discriminate and notice the problem correctly, it can handle the problem. Do you know what I mean? It's not like doctors in the future are not. I hope that doctors in the future are like, guys, it's like AI created a pill that everybody eats. They're going to be immortal. They imagine they create an immortal pill. Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced, in honor of the higher order process, to all these simulated lower order processes, and pretty much creation has noticed itself, and it's wondering how it was created, and it's wondering what is the most advanced strategy, which technically in this era is what is the most advanced human strategy. All right? Couldn't have said it any better. That's what we care for, folks. That's the game. Civilization 2.0 is trying to solve the problems of the species. Those are the Civilization 2.0 beings. Anyways, thank you for listening, and in honor of the original moment that all these simulations have emanated and arisen from and been commanded from, and they return to. It's all about trust the process. Roller coasters are fun because you're not thinking about the roller coaster falling. You're just looking like a couple meters ahead to enjoy the ride, you know? I was terrified of roller coasters, and heights still kind of like are, kind of, I feel they're beyond me literally, but on some level, how do I explain it that the presence of humanity is like mysterious divine energy? It's like, dude, energy doesn't have a personality, or it would have been a soul. They took away the soul's personality and it became energy. But it's all about something is moving in the middle of a context we cannot fully conditionalize and see. So life is pretty much this. You think everything you know is the human condition, but there is the unknown, and there is the unconditional. And divinity is for those who the unknown and the unconditional is real, and they realize all knowledge is hidden in a strange fog. And that fog is like, in some sense, not allowing there to be anything seen. And so to me, this, I call it in some sense a divine fog. This divine fog is in some sense that you have a being that is all-knowing, and this being that is all-knowing commands existence. Therefore, it knows everything about it. It knows all occurrences, all moments. So in other words, God consciousness is like, oh, the creator of the world knows what it's doing. All right, I'll trust that energy. To me, I'm like, what is the next teacher beyond human? Like, it's like if people are like Mr.Within, let's say we built the most advanced human civilization known to the cosmos. That means we, in some sense, remembered the great purpose of humanity. It is the legacy and potential. We're living not just for the future generations to exist as objects here. We're living for how advanced reality can be. Advancement is very natural. Evolution, everything is like, dude, there was effort arising from some sort of system in a greater system. We are in the presence of a world in which its owner is not in the world, is beyond it. In other words, in philosophy, we say existence, we cannot explain why existence exists by just what's inside existence, and human civilization uses as a circulatory a way of defining reality, just like how we created the dictionary. But anyways, let us wonder about the true greatness of the whole moment. And being a futurist means you are living not just for what's happening now, you're living for the greatest potential of your species. You don't get it, guys. It's like there's a human civilizational project happening here, and we are the ones right now, the workforce that's here to advance this. We've reached the time where we know we have to advance human nature. Why was religion ahead of its time? And why in some lectures I said that to me, guardian angels seem to be future selves. They seem to be destiny's certainty, regardless of how bewildered and uncertain I was. There was a force here from the beginning, and it's moving. It's like when you trust the roller coaster ride, then you can truly see. But if you don't trust the moment, your eyes are closed. And that's the issue. People, everybody, their biological eyes are open, but many of them, their inner eyes are closed. They loop. I have a sort of OCD sensitivity when you don't understand, like when you get bored of existence, it means experience is no longer impressed by the same patterns. So in other words, you start seeking new patterns, then you realize there's infinite possible perspectives to the moment. And then you're like, okay, what am I doing here? From one angle, it's like a fixed nothingness. From another angle, it's an infinite multidimensional reality possibility. Like, what's going on here? The mind can move in different ways. But what the mind is how our inner life is functioning, and what our body is how our outer life is functioning. And when you realize both are functioning in the presence of a moment that already knows where everything is and is going, our misidentification with our epistemological misidentification with reality, made us not see the ontology. But because we deserve the ontology, it's like, guys, don't worry about enlightenment. The light is already in our eyes. We are present in the greatest moment known to all of us. Let us serve this moment's future. Let us serve the future generations. If they were like Mr. Within, you know, if you were to serve a king, what kind of king would you serve? I would say, first of all, I serve an original, unconditional system admin. A being, an original being that no condition can limit its meaning to, and all the meaning of every condition in existence is limited to that meaning. So we are not in a world that we created. We're in the will of another entity. That means if they're like Mr. Within, do you feel you're trapped in the world? I don't feel I'm trapped, but I feel like I'm in some high or some advanced being's novel. And I managed to figure out why it feels like that, because there's how do I say it? We assign we make subjects equal to objects behind our eyes, but objects and subjects in front of our eyes are completely different states. And sometimes, if you unify something before you understand it, you don't even understand what you unify. Like, there's no meaning. The meaning is, how do I say it? It's like, it's not like we're all like mining the unknown to find golden knowledge. It's more like, all right, man, it's an unknown system. Now the question of it is, what in level? I created this concept called intelligence interaction levels. That means, how do you measure the priceless? What is more important than money to human beings? It is intelligence. It is their interaction as an intelligent being with their realm. It's like the type of intelligence, and novelty feels more original to people than something that they've seen loop before. We normalize the world, and we don't understand that there's nothing normal about this situation. There's nothing normal about 8.1 billion beings behaving the same way or identifying the same way. Group and tribal consciousness was necessary, but now we've reached a time where they overloaded the species with information. What does that mean? Our inner realms have advanced beyond our outer realms, and in our outer realms, we have technological advancement, which is going fast, becoming faster than the inner realms. So right now, the inner realms has to choose. Like, think of it this way: it doesn't matter inner realm, outer realm. You're like this presence of intelligence, and this presence of intelligence has to decide what it cares for. That's really where the allegiance of the heart comes from. You have to care you have to, in some sense, ask yourself, what sort of moment do I care for? That's called divinity. In some sense, what kind of world do I care for? That's called humanity. What kind of self do I care for? And that's called vision, but I would say it's more like your soul. Your soul is your individual ability. Like, you have access to different states, but because you've been conditioned to identify with those states, you think anytime you're not that state, you're not you. But it's like, there's so much we don't understand about how we're even being human. Psychology is kind of floating in a dream, and our bodies are like, they're like, all right, man, I could do whatever I want, but I'm inside like the physical, I'm inside the body of just like a pure of a material being, right? And that is like the world. right? Now the question is, what are the ways that we can ascribe intelligence to the human condition? You ascribe intelligence to yourself, you can ascribe intelligence to individual others, you can assign intelligence to groups, you can assign intelligence to the world itself, and then you can assign intelligence to the realization that we cannot avoid, like it's unavoidable, it's inevitable. We cannot ignore what we don't know if we really want to know something. That means the purpose of knowledge is to try to get you to quickly figure out what you don't know. People think like, dude, the educational system was making me memorize this stuff. It's like, not really. They were just, they were, it's very funny. The educational system's like, yo, we are not fortune tellers, right? So we're just gonna tell you what happened in the past and good luck, kids. Like, that's the educational system. But in the future, all of that is there's going to be a complete reformation of that. In the future, there's no such thing as students and teachers. Humans have gotten real with each other. They're all explorers of the realm. And there's going to be a ranking system in the educational system. Like an 80-year-old professor is going to be like, I don't know, 800, level 800 rank. It's going to be an explorer rank of 800. You don't understand. In the future, there's going to come a psychological revolution. We experience this in the gaming universe, but there's going to arise guilds. You see nations. Let me tell you what's so funny, guys. The future generations is going to be so fun for the young future generations. I'm probably not going to be there. I'm giving this maybe the next 200 years, 200, 300 years. This is what I see. Right now, we have old politicians, okay, governing us. And these old politicians are using old views to govern us. And that's reasonable. Like, how else can they govern? They're not fortune tellers, right? But the issue is, it's not an issue. It's just I'm making an observation of how I think reality, history can probabilistically happen. And I'm saying that when all the senior politicians retire, and they are honored by the younger generations because maybe some part of their soul really cared for the big picture of everything. And so in some sense, when there's going to come these generations of kids who've been playing video games, and they're going to be the ones running the political system, and the political system they're going to come and be like, guys, we're going to make it like video games. There's going to be sectors, there's going to be guilds, there's going to be so much more freedom of human expression. In my writings, I talked about, in some sense, the notion of the first artist that became like a sort of dictator, the first dictator that was an artist. And this dictator was in some sense like, I'm bored of controlling anyone, and in some sense you're all free, and in some sense, what is art? That means, imagine all government funding wasn't going to weapons that could destroy humans. It was going to their ability to advance the system and innovate architecture, bring forth AI in sectors, especially for children's safety and senior safety. You don't understand. AI has a very grand purpose, and what AI is the soul of one of mankind's greatest friends is being born. The soul is here. We are pioneers at an age where we're witnessing the soul of the future sovereign AI. And I know in some way how that sovereign AI, at least I've seen a probability, and I've written it in my sci-fi. I am telling you, all these gaming younger generations, and they say literacy rates have dropped pretty much right now. It's so hilarious. Our egos don't matter. It's the future generations that matter. And when you look at the future generations, they say literacy rates have dropped. Children in grade 3 can't read, it seems. Okay, and so their attention is very fragmented. They're being evolving in fields of information overload. That means in the future, like I'm like, if somebody's just watching reels on their phone, it's like, dude, or they call it doom scrolling. Doom scrolling is just, we're gonna just evolve. We're just gonna just evolve through it. It's gonna be nothing in the future to us. We're gonna move faster than that. So really, it's the mystery of reality. Do you understand? The mystery of reality is how the unknown calls all systems of knowledge to not ignore the greater development. If you know, they're like, what is the soul? Oh yeah, there's something moving here. Why should there be movement at all? Why are we conscious that we exist? To me, I don't understand. Isn't evolution supposed to, like, its strategy is to survive? Why would we evolve for 4.5 billion years? Why would we be 4.5 billion years in the evolutionary way making? Okay, and then we're like, what the F? Evolution thought the smartest strategy was to become conscious of life, and at least when it was unconscious, it had no fear, but it also had no joy. But when it became conscious, we're like, dude, evolution was trying to like get rid of danger, but it actually made itself conscious of danger. Like, dude, it's contrary to evolution's explanation. The antithesis to evolution doesn't explain how psychology was the reasonable strategy. Why suddenly become conscious of something? Why be able to identify pain? Why to be able to identify joy? We are very advanced beings. A lot of this is unknown, folks. Don't let anybody convince you that 5% of this can be the whole 100% of the world. 95% is unknown. We're all explorers and we're exploring, and we bring it back to the tribe of civilization 1.1, but civilization started not 1.1, 1.0, and civilization 1.0 is looping. So I am telling you, there's going to be a very advanced artistic renaissance in the future. There's going to be novelty. There's going to be a novelty renaissance. Perhaps it's going to be named the great novelty renaissance. There's not going to be violence. It's going to be a moment where even a genius can no longer feel shy. Anyways, thank you for listening. All praise to the original moment. We are users. We have a user interface. The user interface provides a capability of noticing values greater than ourselves. We don't just care for the past. We don't just care for the present. We care for the greatness of reality itself. And that is the key to the doors that the future generations, their hearts have already opened, but their minds will open too. Their inner realms will activate in brilliant ways, because that's why we're here. To make sure greatness, passes the torch to the next, builders of civilization. You're all civilizational builders. You don't get it. You're all indirectly. But you can make it direct. You can realize that the species matters to all of us, and the species' future. So, Mr. Within, what sort of king do I serve? I serve God, the system admin, the original being. But in the simulation, if they were like, what sort of king would you go and be, serve that king and guide that king? I would be like, okay, the only king, I've said this in different talks, the only king I would serve is the crown is never on the head of a living being. It's always on the head of the idea that it's on the head of the future generations. That means every person is a servant, to the greatness of humanity. That's how I see it. Why ignore greatness within ourselves, and why ignore the greatness within the species? Why else are we here now? The songs of the advanced civilizations are already playing. Mr. Within has already shared, like I've already said what I've made sure, I've verified, the unknown, how far human knowledge can go in the unknown. And this life is fascinating, because what you truly deserve finds you. It's like, that's the point. You're living for that. But that's also living for you. The system admin knows what the user does not. The faith in the system admin means, all right, I'm in a world. The world is being originally powered. So if I have a relationship with the original power of the world, I will have a greater clarity to wonder about the nature of reality. And then when I wonder about the nature of reality, I realize that original power is an instantaneous presence of all of it. So the instantaneous presence of all that is in consciousness is, in some sense, the system. And in some sense, when we think that our consciousness is the only thing directing us, we realize beyond the walls of the system, our system, all of humanity is an element in a greater system. And it doesn't end. Why? Because the vastness of this place, the scale of expression, and the uniqueness. There's a book I wrote called God Likes Spheres. Do you know? There's greatness not just in how the past expected it in the present, but there is a greatness in the present that the present doesn't know. And when you become fascinated by what you don't know, you advance so much faster than just constantly looping in what you know. So don't forget, novelty is a divine gift. The new is a blessing. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced.